We're on. Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening, or it could be good morning to some of us watching from other countries. Welcome to today's F.I.R.E session. Thank you very much for joining us. It's always exciting to just have an interactive session with all of us. I can see a number of people have joined us. Thank you for joining early. Yes, so we're going to start with a word of prayer, just to ask God to be with us even as we have this conversation around money decisions. So let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this evening. We thank you because you are God. We give you all the honor and all the glory because of your faithfulness. We thank you that you always take care of us. Gift of life. We thank you for good. Even this Savo family, everyone who's watching, everyone who will watch later, all our investors, all our Savorites, we thank you for all those who are associated with us, Lord. We just give you glory for each and every one of us. Lord, we thank you for today's session. Thank you that many times we have come to you and we have prayed and we've asked you to be with us, and you've always faithfully been with us throughout the session. We thank you especially that it will also be a success for the glory of your name. We bless you and we honor you for your God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys. I can see a number of people on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram, we have quite a number of people. Hey, Anja Volista. Thanks, Anja. I'm not sure what your name is. Others, KQRAF. Interesting. Thanks for joining. Nyingi, thank you. Magara, thanks. Masi, thank you. Ahmed, thank you. And Miss Wangare, thank you very much. Odin Shop 254. Thank you very much for joining us. Facebook, Martha, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Evans Musomi, welcome. Welcome, Evans. You're always here. God bless you. There's a problem with the audio. It is disconnecting intermittently. I pray you'll be able to sort it out. Evans, once it's okay, please let us know. Peace, welcome, Peace. Thank you, Peace, for joining. Yeah, I can read your comment. Thank you very much, Peace. Guhimturi, again, thank you. You are always here with us. Yeah, there are a number of us who, faithfully join us every Friday for the live sessions. I'd just like to say a special thank you to all of you. So Mr. Mcharo was here last week. He was talking about men and money. And I think we requested that you have a second session of men and money. But unfortunately, he went back to Taita. I think he really loves the hills. And so he's not able to be with us today. But we're going to talk about money decisions. Yeah, I think it's applicable for all of us, men and women as well. So I'd like it to be very interactive. So please share your experiences, send through your questions. I can see Mr. Mcharo waiting to learn. Thanks, honey, for joining. Yeah, people miss you here, but yeah, I'm sure he'll come back. Ashley, thank you, Ashley. You're always here, joined and eager to learn. You're always here. Thank you so much, Ashley. We really, really appreciate the Savo community. Those who are able to join online, live, and those who are able to watch later, we really, really appreciate you. And may I request that, if you can, send us even topics that you would like us to cover. Is there anything that you always think, I wish Savo could cover this topic? Please send us, and we will definitely try to cover those topics. Yes? So we shall begin how we make our money decisions. I'm going to start with a story. And this story is about my very dear sister. I'm sure she'll join us in time. She's always here as well. So my sister, at some point she needed to relocate from Bungoma, his home, to Nairobi. And even before that, there's a season in Kenya where there are very many pyramid schemes. So she joined a scheme called DESI. It was started by, unfortunately, a church. And she first invested 20,000 shillings. She invested 20,000 shillings, and in about 2 weeks, she got double that amount. She was given 40,000. So it looked very alluring. I put in 20, and it has doubled in 2 weeks. Of course, that built her confidence. And she went ahead and put in the entire 40,000 back to Daisy, hoping that in another 2 weeks she will be able to earn a similar amount, or actually double the 40,000. So ideally, in her mind, in 4 weeks, out of 20,000, she'd have made 80,000. Is there any business that can double your money in such short period of time? Highly, highly unlikely. So what happened in the third round? In the third round, she lost all her money. Yeah. So I wish when she got the 40, she had taken the 40 and returned 20. But of course, we always want more. And when you see there's a possibility of making more money, you would want to put in all that you have. So when she was expecting 80, she received 0. Okay, so that's her first experience with the pyramid scheme. And at the time, of course, she didn't know it was a pyramid scheme, and she just thought, here's an opportunity to make money. Yeah, so as I'm sharing this story, I hope a number of us can relate and just comment on it. A second scheme came and unfortunately she invested again. Let's call it XYZ. What happened? She lost money in the second scheme. Okay, so what do you guys think? Do you think she did this again? Maybe the answer would be no. Maybe most of us would think that she didn't, that she had learned. I mean, after losing the first time, losing the second time, would anyone actually believe such people and actually go the third time? Perhaps the answer is no, but reality is that she went to another scheme, New Horizon. So this is the time when she was relocating. So she thought, I really, really need money. She heard about New Horizon. She was told about, you put in your money, and in 3 weeks you get triple the amount of money you put in. So she went ahead. The offices were the offices was in Guild House in town. So she was sure, these guys will not be like, they won't be like the first guys, and they won't be like the second people. They were very convincing. When she went to their office, there were people there who were giving testimonials just of how much money they had put in and how much money they had made. So she believed the story, and she quickly went to Bungoma. She had a baby shop. She sold it for 300,000 shillings and came and invested. 300,000, hoping that she was going to get 900,000 shillings after 3 weeks. Okay, so I can see people are just laughing. Do you think she got 900,000 shillings? The answer is a loud no. Unfortunately, she didn't get 900,000 shillings. She literally lost all her money. She lost the entire 300,000 shillings. How would you describe a person like this? How would you describe she's actually my sister. How would you describe her? This is a lady who was running a business in Bungoma. I mean, this is an educated person. This is not a person you'd say maybe they don't know or they're different. Me, I'm different from them. They're just like you and I, really. But it's very easy to be cheated. And why is it easy to be cheated? Because we want to make it easily. We want to be able to make financial gains quickly. We are very gullible, and it's all of us. It's all human beings. We are very gullible. We easily trust. We perhaps don't even know the right questions to ask. We are easily impressed by what we see, and we quickly believe and jump in. But ultimately, it's greed. All of us, deep down, there's an element of greed. And every time there's an element of greed, it just overpowers you. You stop being rational, and greed forces you or makes you do things that later you'd be wondering, oh, is that really me? So that's my sister's story. So when she went back to Guild House after the third week, the office was not there. So the office was on second floor. So she went to second floor, they were not there. She was like, really? She went to third floor, they were not there. She asked the Askaris, where are these people? They're like, we've never heard of that name here before. I mean, this is 3 weeks later, not 1 year later, it's 3 weeks later. And even the Askaris tell you, we've never heard of this company. And my sister was confused. She felt the loss. She felt so bad that when she was getting out and she was on the road, she was literally almost hit by a car. Because you just feel overwhelmed by this great sense of loss. You've lost 300,000 shillings. And I think with even a sense of how foolish am I because this is the third time I'm falling into this trap. The third time. Why didn't I learn the first time? Why didn't I learn the second time? At least the first and second time, the amounts were not so high. But now it's a lot of money. It's 300 shillings, 300,000 shillings. I have sold a business that I had worked on for so long, and now I've lost all the money. She was totally confused. As I was talking to her today, she told me that as recently as today, someone called her with a similar story. You know, it's a merry-go-round, put in your money, and in a short while, you're going to double it, you're going to triple it. But now she is wise. She's like, take it slowly. Make the gain slowly, get a little return, but you're sure about the source of the return. So does this story sound familiar to any of us? Let me see any comments. Yeah? Let me see if there's anybody who can relate to this story. Antaro tuned in, exciting topic. Irene Gitao tuned in. Christine Gigi, happy to hear and ready to learn. Ladies and gentlemen, please talk to me. What do you think? What do you think about this? Have you done this before? Have you fallen into a trap like this before, where you've literally been gullible enough? You've been gullible and you have ended up losing money just because you believed people, or just because you wanted to win it quickly. You wanted to make a quick return without really understanding how are those people. If someone is going to give you double your money in 2 weeks or triple your money in 3 weeks, what are they investing in? What is the what is the business they're running that's able to give them such a high return? And then from that return, they're able then to give you. For them to give you triple the money, it means how much are they must. We wanted us to start with that story in an effort to just say, are we really rational in the way we make our money decisions? And starting with this story, it is very clear that human beings, we are not rational in the way we make our money decisions, unfortunately. And I'm sure many of us, if you've studied economics, rational meaning that we have access to all information. Before we make any decision, we have access to all information. We have the ability to even process all the information that we receive and then after use that information in our decision making process. This is the theory of evidence, and that's the theory that has been believed by many economists over a long period of time. We are all factors, and we are getting the highest utils or making the very best of decisions for ourselves. So that's modern economics. Okay, that's the economics theory. Then there's a new school of thought. In fact, the economists call it behavioral economics. And in behavioral economics, it says we are expected to be rational, but are we rational? So it literally looks at our behavior. This is our behavior. Are we really rational? And again, just going to that story, do you think my sister is a rational person? If you lost money the first time, and this doesn't apply to my sister only, I think it applies to many of us. You lose it the first time. Do the same thing. You lose it the second. Again, you lose it the third time. Would you consider yourself to be a rational person? The answer is probably no. And why is it no? It's because we need to use our logic. Our emotions are very strong. So we need to change the only making decisions based on our emotions, and we will justify it with logic later, right? So our emotions is what would drive our decisions, and then thereafter we would justify it with logic and say, I did it because, yeah? But ideally, we used our emotions to actually make the decisions. This behavioral information, or what we actually do, what our behavior depicts, is that we are not able to we don't actually have all the information required. We only have limited information. In fact, economists call it, we have bounded rationality. So we are working within certain boundaries. So we have limited information, We don't have the capacity to process all the information we receive. We don't spend the time to process information to a level that gives us the best outcome. We decide in our heads, okay, I've done 20% processing, that's me. So we're not able to make the best outcome in terms of our decisions. So that's what behavioral economics says. And in these emotions that affect us, we call them biases. There are certain biases that affect our decision-making process. Let me see, before I continue so that I don't talk for too long. Let me see, YouTube, Mr. Mcharo, thanks, honey. Regarding money decisions, why do you think people go with emotions? Why do you encourage people to be rational? I'll answer that. Nguhi, is saving an investment a money decision? Yes, Nguhi. Honey, I'll come back to your question. Yes, Nguhi, saving an investment is a money decision. Let me see this side. Billionaire, Fire Friday, I'm eager to learn. Thank you, Brian Masharia, for always being here. And what's here. So thank you guys in Instagram. I can see the numbers are increasing in Instagram. Thank you guys. Let me try and go back to Mr. Mcharo's question. Regarding money decisions, why do you think people go with emotions? Why do you encourage people to be rational? Why go with emotions? I think the self-awareness is very important. So we naturally go with emotions, right? And what are these emotions? The emotions that make us make certain money decisions are very strong, that we literally need to tell our minds to take control so that we are aware this decision is being influenced by emotions. I know, and I'm not going to accept. Let me use my mind to reason. And it's important to use, you're asking why is it important to be rational? It's important to be rational because money decisions are not emotional decisions. If you're using your emotions, first, as we said, you will not be able to consider all the available information, right? You will not even be able to seek out the information that is required. You will not be able to process it. You will be easily cheated. Yeah, so those are the limitations of emotions. But when you're using your brain, you're able to consider all information. When you're using your brain, you're able to objectively look at the numbers without your heart being involved. You're objectively able to look at the numbers, look at the returns, look at the risks, and thereafter decide what is an optimal decision. So that is why it's very important to use your mind and to be rational and not emotional. Emotional decisions will always fail. It's like tossing a coin. You know, it could go either way. You know, with your emotions, really, it's like tossing the coin. And in my sister's example, if she had used logic, just a simple question like, I have been conned once. That is enough to make her not be conned a second time. Or just the question, even before being conned, what investment is this person investing in that is able to double and triple the money in such a short period of time? That question only is enough to make the person not to go ahead with the investment. So that's why it is very important to use your mind and not your. Let your emotions or your heart just pump blood and not make investment decisions. At all. Hello, is that okay? It's okay. Okay. Sorry, guys. Apparently, there's an issue with the mic. It's very sad, but yeah, we'll continue. It's quite unfortunate that there are very many pyramid schemes out here ready to grab the hard-earned funds of people. Always remember, nothing comes easy. That is very true. I totally agree with you, Martha. When it looks very, very attractive, run away. if you can't understand what someone is doing, just run away. And I think it's very easy to be able to pinpoint a pyramid scheme. The first thing is that there is no economic activity that they are doing. The second is that the returns are so good, and so it looks so good to be true. So when you experience something like that, just run away. Jen Bayer, or audio not good at all, we cannot hear as voice is not clear. Is it better now? Guys, please tell me, is it okay? Is it okay? Can someone tell me? YouTube, is it fine? Someone please comment. And unfortunately, most of us make money decisions using emotions. You make a decision and you get a warm, fuzzy feeling, as opposed to rationality, thinking through it. Yes, and hopefully, and through this conversation, we will learn. We will learn. You know, once you're aware of the emotions that affect you, it's easier to then always ask yourself, I want to make this decision. Is it my head or is it an emotion that's guiding me? Sylvia, very informative. Thank you, Sylvia. Winable Limited. Sorry, I pronounced that funny. Please work on the audio again. Okay. Please bring down the gain of audio volume. Isaac, it's unfortunate that many people have fallen prey of pyramid scheme, or rather comment. What are some of the characteristics of this con men that one can watch out while making money decisions? Isaac, some of the ones I've talked about, it's too good to be true. The returns are very high. Ask yourself why, and what are these people doing to enable them to get such a high return? Number two, there is no financial activity that they are engaging in. And I mean, a lot of times, just do your due diligence. Who are the guys? Remember the due diligence process we went through. Who are the people behind it? What are they doing? What's the economic activity? So just try and really, really understand. Because a lot of times pyramid schemes, they start, you know, they will actually pay people the double return, the triple return at the beginning. But after a short while, they just disappear. That's what they've always done. Yeah. I think there's still a buzz with the mic. The guys are checking. Allow us to just continue. Evans Musomi, before I started learning about investment options and typical normal returns, I considered getting into high return investments that might have been schemes. My education couldn't balance my emotions. Evans, well done that you didn't. Yeah, well done that you didn't. I mean, it would have just been a matter of time before you lost your money. So I'm glad that you actually did. I look at some questions on Facebook. Evening, Pagai. I like that. Let your heart pump blood only and don't use it to make decisions. That is very true. There's some background noise. Okay, that hopefully has been resolved. Brian Masharia, I have a question. Is there a place for intuition in making money decisions? I don't think there's a place for intuition. Personally, I don't think. If you have if there is intuition, do the research. Let that be backed by data, I think. Yeah. I hadn't finished your question, or are we only bound to relying on the hard facts? Brian, I think we have to rely on hard facts. When it comes to money, it has to be hard facts, right? And then Chari Bongosa, that's my sister. She's calling me Koi. Yeah, that's my name. Sorry, she's making me blush. She's telling me I'm looking beautiful. Thanks, Chari. I love you. I lost money that wasn't mine because of an emotional decision to realize someone else's dream. Excellent topic. If I'd have thought logically about it, I'd have realized that I didn't have the experience to do what I was being asked. That is true. I wasn't well equipped to run with the idea, so I didn't do the due diligence. Thank you, my dear sister, for sharing that. Yes, I like the points you've raised. Knowledge of what you're doing. You said you didn't have the experience. And then number two, you are not well equipped. That's spot on. If you're not well equipped, if you don't have knowledge, it doesn't matter how excited your heart feels about an issue. And very unfortunate that the money wasn't actually yours. I can imagine you must have had some very difficult conversations. Yes, but now you know better, my dear. And let's continue. I think, Ashley, if it's too good to be true, yes. The returns are outrageous. Think twice. Don't rush into decisions. Take your time to perform the required due diligence. Spot on. If a company does not let you do the diligence, run very quickly. Okay, so thanks, guys. That has been, I like the interaction. I'm going to just talk a little about what are these emotional challenges that we suffer from. I wish we were in a class and we'd raise our hands. How many of us suffer from self-control bias? Or let me just say lack of self-control. I think when I put the word bias, maybe it might confuse us a bit. So self-control is, we all speak about our spending habits, and we've talked about this in these sessions a lot. That is an emotional problem and not a logical problem. So we know I'm supposed to save for the future, but I struggle with that. Because, again, I'm not being rational. I find it difficult to balance between short-term gain and long-term gain, right? So I'm supposed to be thinking more about my long-term. I'm supposed to be planning my long-term, my future and all. But I really struggle with that. I prefer to spend today. And that is why we are always having these conversations. What do I do to start saving? It's a bit hard, just because the emotion or the joy or the fulfillment of spending is very, very high. So that's one of the emotions that affects us. I think we all struggle with self-control. The other thing is there's something called overconfidence. In fact, it's called overconfidence bias. So overconfidence is you feel, I can do this. Nothing will go wrong. I will never lose my job. I have this business and it's working and it will never go wrong. I actually know. So when you're maybe making a financial decision, you have, in fact, it's said that you have unwarranted faith and confidence in your personal judgment. So there's no doubt in you at all. You make a decision and you're so certain. And every time you're overconfident like this when making a decision, most likely there will be a problem. But anytime you have a bit of doubt, just that, that third sense, second sense that tells you, are you sure? Should you check again? That is always very good because it makes you look out for more information, it makes you research more, it makes you question more, and in the process, if it's a pyramid scheme, you will get to know. Or if it's just a bad investment, you will get to know. So it's good, doubt is good. And then just this feeling of control, that's another emotional issue, that you just feel you're in control. And you feel you're in control of your situation, you feel you're in control of your life, you feel you're just, you're in control of everything that's happening to you. And that gives you, again, that false sense of confidence. So those are some of the emotions that affect us. The other one is called, we call it status quo bias, where you're comfortable with your status quo, and you want to maintain your status quo. I'll give you an example. If the first investment that was introduced to you is purchase of land, nothing wrong with land. In time, you will find that you're very comfortable in buying land. So you'll keep buying land again and again and again, and then you'll never ask yourself the critical questions about land. Is there a possibility there's another investment? Perhaps another investment with a better return. So you're comfortable with your status quo, that the first investment you're introduced to is the one you sort of like keep investing in even going forward. Another bias that we all have, and this applies to all of us, is called loss aversion. So loss aversion is we all do not like to lose. We all do not like to make losses. And connected to that, there's another bias called regret aversion bias. So for these two biases, what these two do to us, they don't make us invest, they make us get to a place of sort of like decision paralysis, where you're not certain and you're not able to move on because you're scared. So regret, when you fear regret, you're always thinking, I'm scared of making a loss, I'm scared of being wrong, I'm scared of, of people telling me, what were you thinking investing there? Or you're scared of being foolish. So that fear just paralyzes you, and then you're not able to make a decision. So the two extremes are not good. You need the balance, or you need to just get to a place where it's neither. It's you're not overconfident, you have self-doubt, and again, you're not paralyzed by fear or the fear of loss, the fear of regretting. So when you're using your mind is able to objectively deal with those two emotions, because your mind will say, I need to invest, yes, I don't want to lose money, but I'm not going to sit here and just fear that I won't lose money. I don't want to lose money. Your mind will trigger actions to research more, to get to know more, to find out more, to do the due diligence. And by the time you're able to then make your decision, you really know. The other issue that comes with this fear of regret, or fear of being told what were you thinking, is this concept, this group mentality thing, or what I would call herding. Investing together, investing what somebody else is investing in. So you'd hear people are investing in X. There's a time there were quails, and very many people invested in quails. So when you hear your friends are investing in something, you all run to invest in that. For example, I'll give you an example of even shares. When you hear people are buying shares, people are buying, I don't know, Safaricom shares at the time, or Kengen shares, I remember, they were really hyped. Because many people are investing in those shares. You find yourself also investing in those shares, because you're like, oh, come on, what I want to invest? There is no way we will all lose money. That's called herding. And again, I remember my sister's story. She was telling me when she went to this office, there were very many people giving testimonials of how much they had put in, how much money they had made. But those people saying the truth or not, maybe they were part of the scheme. So she listened to that, and in her mind, she's like, if all these people have made money, then so will I. So that's called like herding behavior. So what that does, it doesn't allow your brain to think for yourself and to make your own judgment. So you need to be at a place where your head is able to think, to analyze the data, to process the data, and make decisions. But if you're following the crowd, then it becomes impossible for you to do that. And when we all fall, we all we all fall, or we all lose. There's Warren Buffett, Mr. Mcharo always quotes him, and he says that we should be fearful when other people are greedy. And we should be greedy when other people are fearful. So he believes in sort of like take a contrarian view. Do not just go with the flock. Take a contrarian view. When you see people are very greedy and they're all investing in something, just sit back and ask, why? So those are the benefits of actually using your mind. Because your emotions won't do that. Your heart won't do that. Your emotions will tell you, but everyone is doing it. But when you apply your mind, it's easy to then say, let me take time. Yeah, let me take time and think about it and process it before I make the decision. That has been a long one. Let me see some comments. Evelyn, the Mcharos should now write a book on investments. I'll be the first one to buy. Oh, thank you, Evelyn. Thank you very much. Mr. Mcharo, you heard that? Yes. Ashley, I think I'd read your comments. Jen, nice to have you. I think it's Jen's first time. She learned about us today and she's here. Welcome, Jen. I'm glad you're here. How do these pyramids? Is it the regulatory authorities are too weak to get them early enough before they con anyone? I think sometimes our regulators, thinking about regulating M-Pesa, it was after the fact. M-Pesa had already started. And it's actually Safaricom that had to go to Central Bank and now demonstrate to them, this is what we're doing, this is how it works. So sometimes our regulators take a bit of time, especially for new innovative products. I don't think that's the same. It shouldn't be the case for pyramid schemes. And I think, a lot of times such decisions is willing buyer, willing seller. So they're not a financial institution. They're not a bank. But they have created credibility for themselves and a story for themselves that they will come and give you a story and you will believe in their story and you go ahead. So in such an instance, the entities that are regulated are financial institutions that you and I know, and they will give you a good return. But these others, it's your choice to actually invest with them. So I feel it's not so much a regulator's problem. It's us as individuals who need to educate ourselves. Yes, the regulators have a role to play, but sometimes, imagine, Jane, maybe let me use my village, you're in Bungoma, and this group comes and they start asking people for money with this very compelling story. It will take the regulator time to actually find out about that group. And by then, it's highly likely that people will have already given them their money. So maybe the question then becomes, when the regulators then know that that's what has happened, are there repercussions? Are there repercussions to that? But I thank God I think it's not as common as it was some time back. I've not had so many of them in the recent past, so there must be something that is being done. Yes. Thank you, Jen, for that question. And Nyamu. Oh, thanks, Anne. Enjoying the session, Emily. Thank you for reminding us what we know and we don't apply. Well done. Thank you, Anne. Mr. Mcharo says some of these things are easy to do, yet not so easy to do. So we know they're actually easy to follow, but yet again, they're not so easy to follow because we allow our emotions. Yes. Thank you, Anne. I hope going forward, we'll try to use our head more. Nguhi Mturi on status quo it's called bias, status quo bias. In another class, we learned it was best to invest in an area you are well knowledgeable. Question continued below. Okay. Would you say in Savo you get comfortable because you once mentioned you are solely into real estate investment? That is true. But, Nguhi, I think I'd say this. If you have done your research and you're extremely knowledgeable about something, it is true that you should stick to what you know. You should stick to what you're knowledgeable about. But I think it becomes challenging when you stick to something, not because of knowledge, but because it is what was introduced to you first. So my example of for example, land, that is what was introduced to you first. So every time I have extra coins, I will put it in X. Right? Or I'll buy land somewhere. Kikuyus and it's called buroti. I think that's how that's how Kikuyus call it. So you're always just buying plots, but you've never sat to ask yourself, is it really the best investment for myself? Is it really the investment with the best return? So I think with status quo bias, with knowledge, I think it is okay. The challenge is if you stick to something without proper understanding, without proper analysis, without proper comparison, and just being at a place where you've closed your eyes to everything else. Yeah, I think then status quo bias becomes an issue. Let me see, Chari. Again, my sister, stop underestimating risks. That is true, spot on. Avoid hard mentality, harding together, right? Warren Buffett put it elegantly, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy. When others are fearful, as herd animals, we tend to mirror others' emotions. Yes, we tend to walk in a pack. Thanks, Chari, for that. I think on Instagram, we have a question from Munani. Hello, F.I.R.E family. Thank you for joining in today. Oh, thank you. Thank you for, yeah, that must be a favorite. Yes. Okay, we continue. So we've talked about those emotional, what I would call emotional biases that affect our decision making. I'm going to give us another example, just to another story. I think stories work very well. So today I decided I'm just going to be on the case of my siblings. So I spoke to another of my siblings, okay. And Peter, I hope you don't mind me mentioning your name. So this is my very dear brother. So he made a decision to buy land some time back, maybe 7 years ago. Of course, he didn't tell me, because maybe I would have told him otherwise. So there was this parcel of land that was being sold somewhere, I'll call it 50 kilometers from Nairobi. 7 years ago, they were buying, I think a quarter for 100,000 or something like that. So, of course, he didn't do the proper due diligence. He was told by an advocate who was a friend of his, and he went ahead. Again, harding. What did he do? I think his mother-in-law joined him. My sister, one of my other sisters joined him. In total, he told me he was able to convince about 7 people to join him to invest in this land. So you see, it was his brainchild, yeah. So everybody he brought, they kind of like look at him to deliver. Again, due diligence wasn't done properly, so there was no title. At some point, the person who was selling the land died, and it's just been 7 years of a lot of back and forth. And in his mind, he knew at some point he had lost all the money. And luckily, it's not all lost, because they've now been allocated land somewhere about 100 kilometers from Nairobi. He even told me the name. I wrote it down because it's a very difficult name. In a place called Ewaso Kedong. I have no idea where that is. Okay, in my mind, that's like the most remote area. So imagine that 100,000 that he had 7 years ago. What could he have done with that money? Yeah, perhaps if he had invested in land that was proper with title, by now maybe the land would have appreciated. He was supposed to get land 50 kilometers from Nairobi. He has now ended up with land about 100 kilometers from Nairobi. So of course the value of that land is so much lower than the value of the land he was originally supposed to get. So that's one, the financial loss. Imagine the reputational, I guess, loss from from the 7 people that he convinced. And again, most of us, you hear testimonials. So he comes to you. So he's my brother. So he went to my smaller sister and said, let's invest in this land. And my sister did what? She went running. You're my brother. You're older than me. I trust you. So no due diligence done, just faith. And that is called herding. And all the other 7 people, they trusted him without even asking him the questions. Have you done? Have you done? Have you done? So they used their emotions to follow him and to invest in what he was saying, right? But if they had been a bit rational, this was the very quick way to just say, no, I'm not going to invest in this. First, where is the title? I cannot see the title. Have we visited the parcel of land? Have we seen it? So there are questions if they asked 7 years ago, they would have avoided making, this loss. And I don't know, 100,000, maybe some people might think that's little money, but I think for him at the time, that was a lot of money. So again, just being rational in the decisions that you make. I mean, I was speaking to him and he gave me many examples. He started a company that was supposed to sell crisps. He started many things and done many things and lost a lot of money on the way. But now he's wiser. He's gotten to this place. He's gotten to this place of, how do I put it, of status quo. He has understood what he's good at, and he's sticking to it. Yeah? Let's see. Evans Musomi, suppose a new investor wants to invest 50 million or 100 million or so in Savo units at once to get financial independence. What would make this a wise move? I think, Evans, if you want to invest 50 million or 100 million with us, I think that's a significant amount of money. You must do your due diligence. You must do your due diligence properly. You can't afford to lose. I'm not trying to say that it's okay to lose 1.5 or 3 million, but you can't afford to lose 50 million or 100 million. So you must ask the right questions. And you must really push us to really know that with that amount of money invested with us, we will be able to deliver for you the investment. Of course, the process of due diligence, it remains the same. You must still go through the process of due diligence. You must still be able to actually get to a place where with your head or rationally, you're able to say, this is a good investment for me. So even the process is the same. I think it maybe needs to be a bit more intense just because of the materiality or the significance of the amount of money you're talking about. Yes, Evans? Yes. Let me see. Okay. We can continue. So we've talked about, those biases, and those are more emotional biases. But even when we're being rational and when we're using our minds to make a decision, we also have some let me call them defects. We also have some problems in our reasoning process, right? So we also have some biases in the way we process the information in our heads, in the way we look at information. We still have some gaps. And one of them I'll call mental accounting. We call it mental accounting bias. Let me take some water. So mental accounting is you compartmentalize your brain, or you compartmentalize your money, and say this money is more important than this money because of the source of those funds. And therefore, because the source of these funds are different, the way I will use the money from these different accounts, let me call them mental accounts, the way I will use this money will be different. I'll give you an example. If you earned a bonus, I remember when I was in the bank, if you earned a bonus, people always felt like a bonus is almost like a windfall gain, right? So my salary is 100,000 shillings, but at the end of the year, I'm given 50,000 or whatever amount it is. You'll find a lot of us, that's the amount of money we will use to buy gadgets. So anything you've been admiring and you couldn't afford to buy, that's the money that you will use to do that. Yet, your salary, you are more disciplined with it. You are very intentional around how you spend it. So that's a problem right there, because money is money. In fact, we're saying money is fungible. It does not matter the source of the money. I'll give you an example. When I was working in Juba, the season I was in Juba, I think it was a difficult season for me. I think it was difficult for me, for my family. I mean, just being away from home, being in a hardship area. And I used to tell myself, this is very hard-earned money. This is very expensive money. And so it cannot be used for skumawiki, for clothes. It cannot be used for frivolous expenses. And I used every shilling from Juba. I mean, we've talked about that here. I used every shilling from Juba to pay the loan I had. Ideally, I would say it all went to investments, because I had this mental account that this is very, very expensive money, right? So that's another problem that you have when even if you're using your mind, sometimes your mind compartmentalizes the money and puts it in different accounts and decides money from my salary is very important, I'll be very intentional, but any windfall gain, I'm going to be a bit more careless with it, or it's what I'm going to use, as we always say, kurudishia mwili shukrani. But money is money. And so even as we're using our minds, we should try to always just think through money as just money, because money is fungible, right? Yeah, and then in the way we process in our heads also, there's something called availability bias. Availability bias is where we take shortcuts. So I'm thinking through something, my mind will quickly go to my memory and bring forth what I remember, and then I will rely on what I easily recall, right? What comes to my memory quickly. And what comes to my memory quickly is what I will hold on to. And that leads to something called belief perseverance bias, where it will come to my mind and I will believe it, and then thereafter I will hang on to that belief. And then I will not even go further to look for information that is contrary to that belief. So what comes to my mind first, I hold on to that belief. Then there's actually another bias called confirmation bias. So I will be busy looking for evidence that supports my belief. So I will look for people who agree with me on a topic, with me on an investment. But I will not look for people who have a different view, who have a contrary view, because I'm looking for information that is in line with what I believe. So yes, you're using your mind in that instance, but you have limited your thinking process. I think what we should do is to say, yes, this is what has come to my mind now, but could there be different information out there? Can I look for information that is different? Can I look for information that's contrarian? How that works, I'll give you an example. In the season when IPOs there were very many IPOs that were being, issued in Kenya, you'd find someone who think because I invested in the Kenyan IPO and it worked well, there was so much demand. Maybe those who are my age. Today I asked someone if they know Kereb Bank and they didn't know. So people who are my age, you remember Kereb Bank, and then there was Safaricom. For a season there, the IPOs were doing very well. And when then there is another company that's issuing an IPO, instead of you thinking and saying, yes, that company did well, what about this one? Instead of just relying on the fact that the other company did well and assuming all IPOs actually do well, maybe to ask yourself, is there a possibility that this one might be different? Because these companies are in different sectors, the are different. So instead of just remembering, this is now a telecom, while the other one was an energy company, or that was a bank. Go ahead and not just believe, but actually go and do the analysis, understand the fundamentals of that company or whatever it is. So that's a problem in our. You recall a belief, you then hold on to that belief, and then you start looking for information that just confirms that belief. To that belief. And I think that's what Warren Buffett says. He takes a contrarian approach to what other people believe. Yes. So Martha, if you want to invest, ask the right questions. Spot on, ask the right questions. Extend the investment process to have enough time to carry out due diligence and make rational decisions. Now, as we come to our close, I'm going to talk about how do you make rational decisions. I think even just conversations, today's conversations of us appreciating, a lot of times we use our emotions instead of being rational. And even when we are being rational, we don't process information properly. Just that self-awareness, hopefully it will help us. Because try this. The next time you're making a money decision, ask yourself, is this my emotions or is it my head? Just ask yourself that question. Take a minute to pause. And after you have answered, and perhaps you said it's emotions, then shift to use your brain. And when you're using your brain, then shift to asking yourself, okay, how is my reasoning process, right? Should I look for more information? Am I just looking for information that confirms my belief? Can I look for contrarian views? Should I read more? Should I speak to somebody else? Sometimes when you're making decisions even here in Savo, I remember yesterday I was trying to make a decision on a generator, and I asked myself, I don't think I have the expertise to make this decision. And of course, my team members have gone ahead. They've gotten quotations, spoken to different companies. They've done a lot of things. But then I just have that self-doubt. And I said, I know, and Kamau, if you're watching, Kamau is a dear friend. I know someone who actually sort of, this is their day job. This is what they do on a day-to-day basis. And I'd call him and just say, just tell me, what are the risks? What should I look out for? Right? And a call like that just made us change a decision that we were about to make. So just that self-doubt to just say, okay, fine, I'm using my head, but do I have all the necessary information? Do I have the expertise that I need? Could I speak to somebody else? Could I read the book? What else can I do even before I make this decision? Yeah. So thanks, Martha, for saying that. Jane, Savo only invests in real estate. Is it through due diligence you have found real estate to be most profitable on investments, or why real estate only? Any other investments you advise people to do? Okay, Jane, the reason we invest in real estate, or we are a real estate investment company, is because it's because of our experience, when we were young, and of course it was more by default that my husband is an architect, and so real estate came easily to him. So he had the knowledge of construction and managing, and just in the real estate space, he had the knowledge, and of course he was passionate about it. So over time we invested in student hostels, and it was an effort for us to become financially independent. And in time we were able to become financially independent, and then we said we have used this vehicle, real estate, as a vehicle to become financially independent. Can we help other investors to use real estate to also become financially independent? So that's been the journey. So it wasn't a quick decision. I think it was after 15 years of investing in real estate that then we made the decision that we want to just focus on real estate. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question. Jenny, if you're able to just go maybe and watch some of your videos, there's one video that talks about our story, and it will just paint a picture for you of why. Yeah, and because we are investing people's money, we have to be very careful that we actually only do it in what we totally understand. So Jenny, if I told you to come and invest with us and we were doing something in the agricultural space, run away, because we have no knowledge, we have no expertise, we have no experience. So whatever we will be telling you would be, for lack of a better word, maybe hogwash, maybe, because we don't know. But real estate, at least we have a track record. We know the pitfalls, not all, but yeah, we have, I'd say, reasonably good knowledge. Yes. Thanks, Jen, for that question. Constance, thank you. Thank you, Constance, for always joining. Anthony Kambiriri, nice name. How could you advise a newly wedded couple to start making smart money decisions together? Given that money causes the biggest fights in a marriage. Yeah. Anthony, we don't have a lot of time, but I'll just try to briefly talk about it. I think that's the last question I will answer. Yes, money can cause a lot of fights in a marriage, and it's very important to have financial oneness. And one of my friends says, she asked the question, is your money married? Right? So Anthony, for as long as your money is not married, or you don't have financial oneness, it will be a bit difficult. So what would I say, or what would I advise? Walk the journey together. Walk the journey together. I think if you're newly married, it's still early days. Have money conversations candidly, with no secrets. Have a bigger purpose that you're both working towards. Think through and come up with that purpose together, and then start working towards that purpose together. So long as you're all going to the same destination, it will be much easier. But if, Anthony, your purpose is X and her purpose is Y, then it becomes difficult. And it's possible to start the conversation when your purposes are very different. But I believe in continuous talking, with the willingness to listen to the other person, with the willingness to listen to even understand them, consider their view, reevaluate, talk again and again and again. It's possible to actually get to a place where you have one purpose. And immediately you have one purpose, it becomes very easy, because then the rest is just execution. Yeah? Where you're telling yourselves, I will do this, you will do this, we work together towards getting to where we are both going. So yes, have a similar purpose. But if you're going in this direction and she's going in this direction, yes, money fights will be the biggest fights you will have. But I pray for you, Anthony, that will go well. But keep at it. It is possible. It worked for us. We kept talking. We talked a lot. We talked a lot about money, and I thank God that that's one area that we have total oneness with Mr. Mcharo. So I think it is possible. Yes, Anthony. Yes, Nick Machiavelli Mwangi watching. Thank you, Nick. Yes, I think our time is up. We have 2 minutes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Always a pleasure. I really hope this session has been useful, and I hope the sound was good. Yeah, at some point I hope the sound was good. Please share with your friends. Send them the link. Ask them to join. Ask them to watch it. I think there's some important lessons in this session and even in previous sessions. And Anthony, yes, the previous sessions, you will find them a little useful as well, even when you're thinking about your marriage. Yes, thank you all. Thank you for joining, and thank you for always joining. We appreciate. So we've started something in Savo. We call it fire alarm. Fire alarm is our mechanism for us to know the truth. Yeah, for us to know the truth about what we are doing. What we are doing here in Fire Friday, just feedback, and what we are doing even with our investors. So we have an email address called alarm@savo.ke. Maybe you guys can just type it there. So if you have any comment, any question, any feedback, feel free. Maybe you don't want it to send it to a particular individual. You can send it to alarm at savo.ke, and we will be happy to respond. We're just looking for feedback. We're just really looking for feedback on everything we're doing. And then remember, I had asked, send us any topics that you would like us to cover. Yes. Thank you, guys. I can see some comments. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. How do I call you? Winnable. And thank you, Lillian. Lillian Adega is a dear friend. Yeah. So thank you all. May you have a good night, and may God bless you. Always a pleasure. Bye-bye.